Imagine this. You are in a group of adventurers in a world filled with fantastical creatures. You and your companions have skills that help you thrive in this world. Because of these skills, you set out on a grand adventure. After weeks of travel and skirmishes with all sorts of creatures, you can finally see your destination. At the end of a road, you see a mountain. Your group heads for the entrance at the base of the mountain, preparing for an encounter with the beast rumored to be inside. Deep inside the mountain, you find what you've come all this way for. A hoard of treasure. It's bigger than you could have imagined, and likely too big for your party to handle. Unfortunately, both of those things can also be said for the dragon that sits on top of the treasure. So the question is, what do you do? Isn't that fun to imagine? Scenarios like this one are exactly what draws me to Dungeons and Dragons. I'm fairly certain I'll never run into a dragon, and even if I do, I know I won't try any bold moves. But this game gives me the opportunity to roleplay a character who would try some bold moves, or maybe foolish ones. I think imagining scenarios like this do a great job of getting somebody interested in playing Dungeons and Dragons, or D&D. In this video, I'm going to go over a few more reasons that have got me interested in learning how to play Dungeons and Dragons. Now, I want to mention I've never played Dungeons and Dragons, but I am preparing for my first session right now. And some of these things on my list are things that I've always thought, and some are from what I have learned while preparing for my first session. I love a good fantasy story. Embarking on a grand adventure to save the world or recapture a lost homeland. I love the books and the movies, so of course I want to be part of my own story. I tend to rewatch Lord of the Rings pretty often, and I'm not complaining about it, but the thing with movies is they don't actually change. But Dungeons and Dragons gives me the opportunity to go on countless adventures that are all different than the last. I can battle different creatures, I can seek different outcomes, I can go after different treasure, and all of these possibilities lead into my next point. There is so much you can do in a game of D&D. The biggest limiting factor is you and your group's combined imagination. So that means there's basically limitless possibilities. You can tell a hilarious story where the biggest goal is to get somebody in your group to laugh, or you can go on a more serious adventure to reclaim a lost homeland from a warlord, or a bit of both. Interestingly, as I've read more about D&D, this statement seems both more and less true. At first, I came to realize that there is a very sophisticated set of rules in place for D&D. And rules generally mean that you can't just go out and do whatever you want. But I've lost count of the times where the books say to kind of disregard or modify the rules if it serves your group better. The rules are really just there to give structure to the story that you and your friends are telling together. I'm getting the sense that the rules are there for a couple of reasons. To provide some of the details so you don't have to come up with every little thing, or to provide opportunities for the story to go in a direction that nobody could have seen coming. So while the rules might limit what you can actually do, they don't keep the story from developing into infinite possibilities. And exploring all those possibilities takes a lot of creativity. Recently, I've been wanting to be more creative. I've wanted to play D&D in the past before, but I didn't really have this desire for improving my creativity. And because of that, I didn't see how great of a creative exercise this game could be. Honestly, the more I think about it, that's all it really is. A big game of make-believe. You have to create a character, and while the classes and races are defined for you, you have to come up with why they are the way that they are. What's their backstory? Where are they in life? What motivates them? And then there's the game itself. If you want it to be, D&D can be one of the most creative exercises I can think of. You can dive into role-playing your character, come up with and act out the decisions that they make. Look for creative ways to solve your problems. Find interesting questions to ask the creatures that you meet along the way. Come up with a plan to reach your group's goals. All of these things force you to come up with new ideas that you might not have had you not played the game. No matter how you play, you're going to be creating things inside your head. I will be absolutely shocked if my creativity doesn't improve even after just a few sessions. There's also a few things I learned that got me excited to play while preparing for my first session. To prepare, my brother, who's going to be the DM for my first session, let me borrow a few things. A starter set, and a handful of books. I've read through most of the starter set and then the first few chapters in the player's handbook that he gave me. And doing that made me want to get my very own player's handbook, so I did that. And you might have noticed that I have the newer edition of the player's handbook, and they're pretty similar. I think the biggest difference I've noticed so far, and I'm only a couple chapters into my player's handbook, is I think the character creation is quite a bit different, but really you end up with the same type of character at the end. But anyway, back to what's gotten me really excited. These rules are so well planned out. They very precisely define the metadata for your adventures. They define exactly what a character is capable of doing, but they leave the decision of what the character does and how they do it up to the player. What I really love about these rules is they help you tell your story, not keep you from doing something. I am so excited to create my character. I think I know what I'm gonna make, but I want to do a bit more reading just to make sure. I haven't quite figured out all the background and stuff like that yet, but I'm already getting excited to go on adventures with this character. I'm holding off on creating him until I read a little bit more, because I think understanding the game more will help me better connect with the character while I'm creating it. It's hard to say what I'm most excited for about creating my character. Is it just creating something that the other players in my group will find entertaining, or imagining how he's going to handle all of the different situations we're going to run into, or just the fact that it means I'm getting that much closer to being ready to play my first session? So anyway, that's how I got to where I am now. I'm super pumped to play Dungeons and Dragons. I've thought about this for a long time and always thought it would be really cool. And the more I've learned about it, the more I'm realizing that D&D seems really cool. Stick around and I'll let you know how the first session goes. This video is different than my previous videos about being an independent iOS app developer, but I want to start exploring my other interests on this channel. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, consider subscribing and following along. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you next time.